All right, so let's get into our first topic. It's my topic, and we're pretty positive right now. I like to stay positive, but there's a big problem, guys, and
Uh,
it's about the Nintendo Switch. More so third-party file sizes.
hmm
Um, and the whole reason I bring this up, I wasn't going to bring it up, but there was recently a patch for NBA 2K18, and it actually put it around 30 gigs. So you could literally buy a Switch out of the box and not be able to play a game on it. Like,
hmm
to me, that's a big problem. I know that all of us have mini SDs.
hmm
And I mean, I got like a 128 for like $29, so it's not like too bad. But you got to think, guys, like 4 third-party games would fill that thing up. Like, Joe, I'll start with you, man. Do you think this is a problem? Do you think it's going to be anything serious?
Man. So right now we're looking at NBA 2K18, probably the let's just say the entire 2K line. I'd imagine WWE would probably fall under the same spectrum once that game comes out. Resident Evil Revelations 1 and 2, one digitally at about 26 gigs, just above the threshold of Switch's internal memory.
Yep.
And 2 is probably, I think, sorry, no, that was Resident Evil Revelations 2. 1 is 13 gigs. Yeah, there could be a problem. I don't know who plays those games, to be honest with you, because it's not my demo. The Resident Evil games, 100%, yeah. That's where the problem sparked up for me and a lot of my community.
I mean, you got Skyrim, you got Doom coming.
Yeah, Skyrim. I mean, Skyrim's 13 gigs. That's close to Breath of the Wild right there.
But here's the thing: are we talking digital or physical? Because you're buying.
Well,
the game
here's the thing.
Okay, let's break it down. Because there's every
Yeah.
game's doing something different. All right. So in particular with Doom, the single player campaign is all on the cartridge.
Yes.
That's all I would play. Me personally, I wouldn't play the multiplayer.
The
But
multiplayer is fun as hell, dude.
if you want the multiplayer, you just have to download that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you buy the physical, it's not an issue. With
when you have-
NBA, I think does partly, like it does half and half. Like some of the game is digital and some is physical. It's a
Yeah.
weird thing. It's a weird dynamic that they have with it.
But the problem with that is that the whole game, first off, isn't on the cartridge, and then two, that patch is still bigger than the file size, like being able to hold anything on the Switch. So you need, like it even says on the box, you need a micro SD card, which is bonkers. I don't think I've ever thought we'd see that in 2017.
Yeah.
I think part of it does have to fall on Nintendo though for a 32 gig internal memory.
I mean, it's 2017. Like,
It is
Why
2017.
we
Like
have-
part of
Okay,
it.
But here's something that I've always said, and
Yeah.
I'm going to play devil's advocate across this whole
Yeah.
board here because part of it I believe in. Part of it I believe in. A 32 gig hard drive for a Nintendo console, because third parties aside, if you go first parties, it's not even an issue. Like Mario's not that big. How big is Mario?
Yeah.
How
5
big
gigs.
is how big is Mario Kart? How big is the biggest game that was on the Wii U was Smash, and that was 15 gig. Well, Xenoblade Chronicles, but that's if you download all the extra patches and all that stuff. Like Breath of the Wild isn't that big. Like, so you could legit fill up that memory with probably 5 to 6 games in a Nintendo world. To me, it's no different than a PS4 or an Xbox One at 500 gigs. That is not enough for the size of games that you have to do. So the thing is people look at Nintendo and they beat them up. But at the end of the day, first party is very tight. I don't think Skyrim's going to be as bad as people think it's going to be, because Bethesda is very tight and very good at management and compression and stuff. I feel like is 32 a great thing? Not at all. Not at all. Like, we all went out and bought a 120. I know I bought a 128. I want to buy a 256 if I can at some point. I'd like to buy a 500, honestly, if I could. But the thing that I will give credit for is the workaround. So when it first started, they were talking about cartridge sizes, and it was like a 16 gig and a 32 gig and like a 64 gig or so
Yeah.
that Nintendo would offer for these third-party developers. They've created some type of workaround where part of the game is on the cartridge and the other part is on the hard drive because they don't want to spend the money on the bigger ones. They're taking a risk. I think if we continue to buy these games the way we have been, this starts to go away. Honestly. And I think the other thing is Nintendo needs to man up a little bit and start lowering the price of the cartridges a little bit. So this way, you know, a 2K or a Bethesda will go, you know what, we want the 64 gig. And they'll load everything right on the cartridge. Right now, they're not doing it because it's too expensive. We don't, let's be honest, do you want to pay $80, $90 for a game?
No.
and if they put everything on the game, that's what it's going to be. So until Nintendo, now, one part I'm being nice to Nintendo, but the other part I'm being like, stop being stupid. Like you need to like lower your prices on your cartridges, so this way companies can do this. You know, because here's the thing, there's still load times, which blows me away. Why there's load times on a cartridge? Shouldn't be load times on a cartridge. There's never load times on cartridges. Now all of a sudden there is. So I feel like if there's load times on cartridges, then you're not giving me the experience that I expected out of a cartridge. This is a totally proprietary thing that you're doing. You need to lower the cost a little bit to make make it more appealing to these third parties to go, okay, we want to put games on the cartridge fully, completely, not half and half. You know what I mean?
So Joe, I'll ask you, like, I mean, it's new into, I mean, we're only a few months in, like 6 months in. This is like some of the first wave of third-party games. Do you think these third-party developers are going to kind of learn how to do this? Because, like, Nintendo can fit these big games. Or do you think this is just, like, the way it's going to be?
It's funny. I had this conversation a couple of days ago with L1. And I think part of it also we have to take into consideration with these bigger games is, audio for, voice acting. That's going to take a lot of data as well. Some of the details on these games, like, and this isn't to make a diss on Nintendo, because I'm trying to compliment them on what they do here, is their file sizes are really low. But they're because like the games that they make, they're kind of timeless in terms of like them not being able to like they don't age bad. Mm-hmm. Like the way that the games that we're seeing right now, like a Resident Evil, a Skyrim, or something, like they're using the best technology to be able to create some of these really detailed characters, while Nintendo's going for the more cartoony look in some of it. And that's sort of ageless. That's timeless. You can go back to that and play that and keep those file sizes around at a lower like you can compress it down a little bit more and it won't do damage to it as to when if you compress down some of these bigger games when it comes to audio and the details, it's going to degrade it a little bit more. For instance, Resident Evil Revelations, when that game came out on the 3DS, it was technically impressive, but those cutscenes were overly compressed. You can tell they were super compressed just to fit on that cartridge and play those scenes. They look even better, as they got ported over to console and PC, because you release a lot of that compression and you're able to actually give us the raw files. And I think that's what companies like Capcom are trying to do with some of these games, and trying to learn with porting their games over first before they give us a new game, God willing, at some point down the road. They bring over some other IPs that we haven't seen on a Nintendo console. So we're kind of in that learning phase. We're in that rough patch right now where third parties seem to want to start bringing over games to the Switch, but they don't want to fully commit to bringing over current IP or a new IP, so they're testing it out with this and trying to see what works best. So I think we're gonna have to stick it out over this next year, 2 years, to see what happens with this style of, hey, give us the cartridge, but also give us the digital on the side for certain things. I'm okay with it in a sense of like Doom, where the single player is on the cartridge and then multiplayers, you can download it. That's sort of like a GTA 5 situation where
I like that.
Online was a separate thing, and I'm okay with that. But when you start cutting out specific content, parts of campaigns or whatever it may be, that's not okay. There's got to be something worked around there. That's on both the developer and also on Nintendo as well. I don't ever see them dropping cartridge prices or prices for that stuff. I mean, we're talking going back to NES, SNES era, to the point where they limited developers to being able, and publishers to being able to have sort of like an allowance of cartridges per year. So they had to make different companies, like Konami made Ultra, so they can publish more games that year to make money. So I just don't see them making cuts with their cartridge prices there.
Definitely. So if you're buying a Switch, guys, get an SD card with it if you want to play some of these bigger games.
I absolutely.
They're getting cheaper.
They are getting cheaper, honestly. And the thing of it is, like, dude, when we first, let's be honest, when the Switch first launched, dude, 128s were close to $100 easily. You can get them now I paid $60 for mine.
Yeah.
And you can get them even cheaper than that. Like, I saw Best Buy have them up for $40. Black Friday's coming. Trust me, you're going to have some sales on these things that are be incredible. And the other thing is this. You can carry multiple SD cards. Like, you can basically carry around multiple SD cards just like you do your cartridges.
And switch them
out. And then just swap them out, man. It's not a big deal. It doesn't, it's not going to be that difficult. So...
or delete the games.
Yeah, I think we're in a situation where it's gonna take a little bit of time for everybody to figure it out. You look at how Nintendo's working with indie developers, and they're helping them. Like, if there's issues, they're saying, like, hey, let's sit down, let's figure out what the issues are. Yeah. We just need to get them to start working with the third parties, which, let's be honest, they haven't been in each other's presence in a while now. So it's kind of getting readequated with each other and figuring out who needs what and going there. But I think as time moves on, I think Nintendo will get it figured out. I think the third parties will get it figured out. And I think we're going to see some good things come out of this in the future. I really do. Because here's the other thing, too. We all know this is not the last iteration of the Switch we're going to see.
No.
Who's to say that the next one doesn't come with a beefier hard drive?
Yeah.
I think at this point they were looking to do what they had to do to get it in people's hands, keep the prices down.
We're the first adopters.
It's always going to be a train wreck for the first adopters. Dude, look at this last update that we just got. All the controllers we can add to it now. The video capturing device that's in there now. You can transfer from one console to the other console. The headsets, like you can use headsets now, wireless headsets with USB. All this stuff, like. This is not the end result. As time moves on, Nintendo's going to continue to change things. They're going to float. They're going to fluctuate. We were the beta testers. For the last 6 months, we've been the beta testers. This right now,
true.
I'm telling you, I feel this from Odyssey forward. This is the true launch. From now till Christmas is the true launch of the Switch, because now it's the people that aren't the hardcore Nintendo fans that are buying them and pushing this forward. So this is where things get a little different for Nintendo, and I think